So, here we are. Hey everybody, this is Kohdok here, and I am working very hard on the next Erratatext video. It's one all about teaching people how to play your game when you're not there to teach them, but it's actually taking a lot longer than I thought it would. So, today we're going to be revisiting Dungeons & Dragons Onslaught by wizkids, and I know it's a pretty awkward time to be talking about anything Dungeons & Dragons related, but if you want my thoughts on everything that's been going on over in Hasbro land right now, I've been talking about it over on my Twitter, so it's not coming up here today. Now, when it comes to Dungeons & Dragons Onslaught, I already did a video about how the game is played a while back on this very channel, which you can check out over here if you like. But the skinny of it is that Onslaught is a competitive Dungeons & Dragons game where two players bring teams of characters to essentially compete for the same dungeon objective, as though two play groups converged on one dungeon and were not happy to find that someone else was here. The game itself uses Dungeons & Dragons terminology and dice rolls, but it plays out more like the other big WizKids game, HeroClix, where character health and stats are tracked with a countdown dial. But in Onslaught, the characters actually get an entire card to work with additional dials that give them special powers on a cooldown timer and an experience meter that allows them to level up and gain new powers mid-game. After my video made using the preview kit I got from PAX Unplugged, WizKids went ahead and sent me the full box to check out. The Dungeons & Dragons 2-player starter set contains enough for 2 players to play the game. It includes 21 fully painted plastic miniatures, 12 player characters split between 2 teams, 6 minions, 2 boss monsters, and a centerpiece young black dragon. Also included is a 20 by 26 inch folding board, a bunch of tokens, the dial cards for everybody who gets one, a rule book, and a scenario book. Sadly, it shipped in this kind of crummy cardboard insert rather than the nice plastic one I was expecting, which I probably should have photographed before giving in to my usual habit of slicing up crummy cardboard inserts to convert them into something useful. And sorry, but I'm going to have to address the elephant in the room. Why is this thing $140? Broken down, it's kind of a typical starter box, not what one would call a fancy set like my Crossmaster or Kill Team boxes, which include a bunch of neat 3-dimensional terrain and actually still cost less than this. And you know what other game costs $140? Gloomhaven! Now, granted, Gloomhaven only comes with 18 plastic miniatures, none of which are painted and none of which match the scale of the Black Dragon, but it also comes with a massive pile of terrain pieces, a mountain of cardboard cutout enemies, and a ton of playable content. Now, the thing that these games actually have in common is that they ship with a large number of playable scenarios that the players are supposed to go through. In the case of Dungeons & Dragons Onslaught, it has a grand total of 10, that being 7 scenarios that are connected in an ongoing campaign that make use of the monster miniatures, and 3 more that are just basic arena combat. How many scenarios does Gloomhaven have inside of it? 95! Yeah, running the numbers, that's less than $1.50 per encounter versus $14 each with Onslaught over here. Although, I guess if we were feeling generous and wanted to add the adventure in the preview set, that brings us up to 11, but still, there's really no comparison. But maybe this $140 box is just the starting point and is meant to ease some growing pains for cheaper supporting sets, like the individual team boxes, which contain everything one player needs to play for $60. Really? Isn't a pack of 5 HeroClix like 20 bucks? I mean, I could buy a copy of Persona 5 for that much. Or the Dungeons & Dragons Player's Handbook. Or the smaller Gloomhaven game that still has 25 scenarios. You see, this is the big sword of Damocles hanging over Onslaught's head. It absolutely has the potential to become as fun and immersive and popular as HeroClix if it were priced like HeroClix. If I try to compare the Onslaught product line to the similar products from the HeroClix product line, the Onslaught stuff is, without fail, basically twice as expensive. The 1-player starter sets, the 2-player starter sets, all double over the ones from HeroClix. And the thing is, based on what I found, the huge markup on Dungeons & Dragons Onslaught seems to be completely arbitrary. I admit I puzzle over different things that make them different from HeroClix, like the inclusions of the cards and stuff, but Upon further research, it seems that it's because the minis themselves are part of the Dungeons & Dragons Icons of the Realm line, a set of pre-painted miniatures that are also severely overpriced.
Hey, do you like bugbears? Maybe. Would you be willing to buy a set of 6 of them for $45? That's a pretty serious markup, and I can prove it's arbitrary too, because WizKids also makes the minis for competing game system Pathfinder, and those minis are still priced competitively against HeroClix, featuring blind boxes of 4 for $20, but always including at least one double-sized figure. That's $5 a mini instead of the $10 going on with these Onslaught sets.
Hey, it's me again in the editing room. As I was looking, I actually discovered that they put out these $20 4-packs for regular Dungeons & Dragons as well. The markup really is kind of arbitrary, and while it makes sense for optional things like miniatures you might need for a game but don't necessarily need, for required game pieces like a game like this, they really should be less expensive because, as you'd expect, people would want to buy more of them. Although I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, what about Games Workshop? Don't they charge like $60 for tiny boxes of miniatures? And you're not complaining about that. Well, there's a few reasons for that. First of all, these minis will last. There are minis that came out for Warhammer games like 20 some odd years ago that are still legal to play in modern official tournaments. Games Workshop itself would basically have to go extinct in order for these miniatures to lose their value. Secondly, these miniatures are more expensive than normal because they're actually printed in-house at Games Workshop in Britain, so they have to, like, provide decent working conditions and living wages and stuff, and I don't mind paying a bit of a premium for that. But probably the biggest one is that Games Workshop is aware that their product is for hardcore fans, the sorts of people who like to spend hours building and painting and customizing their models to make them exactly what they want them to be.
Onslaught, on the other hand, seems more aimed at the casual crowd who maybe isn't as into painting, a crowd that this price tag is likely to frighten away.
I admit I'm kinda struggling to figure out who this game is made for. I mean, it's too expensive to appeal to casual players, the people who like to drop a little bit of money here and there to try out whatever's hot at the moment, and it's too lacking in content and potential for personal expression that hardcore players are looking for. As it stands, it's Dungeons & Dragons themed HeroClix for twice the price.
But, like I said, maybe this massive initial investment is a gateway to tons of content. One of the big selling points of Onslaught, according to WizKids, is that we would get even more content in free online updates, and that looks like it's waiting till March to actually start happening.
But hey, at least they've already launched organized play for it, and I admit I was actually really excited for this, because WizKids has always been aces when it comes to organized play. I remember back in the days, things like Mage Knight or Mech Warrior, HeroClix, or that old Pirates game, what they'd do is they'd send out like whole new scenarios that come with like additional maps and stuff, like this old War of the Light organized play kit I have here. So every week you could go to play at the local league and you'd get a whole new experience.
And Onslaught's opening salvo? Well, here it is. This ittle bitty box. The Onslaught Organized Play Launch Kit contains 13 foil Mimic stat cards and 5 Mimic pre-painted miniatures, along with this horribly folded tournament guide. And that's it. Though I understand where this came from. Something about the miniatures I talked about before, the game doesn't have 9 monsters, it actually has 13. You see, there are some trap tiles that get mixed into the loot bag, mimics and loot goblins, and when they get revealed as loot, they become the monsters. Mimics act like you'd expect, trying to eat whoever opened it, while loot goblins behave like the metal slimes from Dragon Quest, super fast, hard to damage, and always trying to escape with their goodies. The idea of playing a league with a Mimic miniature as the prize actually makes a lot of sense. It's basically a slick upgrade for your base set, letting you swap the bland tile for something neat when it gets drawn. But at the same time, I expected a bit more from a WizKids kit, especially one tied to such an expensive game. I was hoping that organized play events would be like the ones for HeroClix or the old Pirates game, where you get a progressive scenario to play through each week, culminating in a chance to win a neat figure. Maybe the kit would include a new monster and a bunch of punch-out tokens to represent those monsters, with players competing to get the painted figures as top prizes, and that the delay for the new scenarios was because they wanted them to play out in League events first, like the HeroClix play-at-home kits. This set didn't even ship with a mat to play on, so that means at least half of all of the people who want to participate in the league must have shelled out the $140 for the full starter set.
I mean, couldn't we have gotten some kind of new scenario that centers around Mimics to tie in with the prize support? Something like, I don't know.
Scenario M1, clear the treasury. The king's treasury has become infested with mimics. One has already eaten his favorite accountant and he wants them dealt with. He will allow you to borrow what treasure you find to complete this task, but his bounties are paid by the head, so get to work.
Yeah, I whipped this together in like an hour. I mean, I haven't had the chance to test it, so I don't know if it's any fun or even any balanced, but this is the kind of spontaneous activity that we would normally get sent from wizkids, and it's what I was expecting to tie in with something like this. I'll leave it for free in the description if you like.
And yeah, I know this video has had a bit of a one-track mind, but that's really my thoughts on it. It's a really interesting HeroClix offshoot that's hideously overpriced. I mean, yeah, X-Wing is also a heckin' expensive game, but its entry point was super cheap. That and the paint jobs on the models are actually insane. If they want to build a community around this game, something's gotta give.
The price needs to drop dramatically, the campaign support needs to go way up, there needs to be a cheaper place to entry. One of those things needs to happen, although if we're still stuck working within the parameters that have been set for the brand, believe it or not, I think this preview kit actually gives us our answer, because contained inside here is sort of a small-scale, fun little adventure that doesn't need a lot of miniatures and can be put together with, like, a paper map if you wanted to. It would be sort of a small, cheap, fun little thing, and this could be somebody's way to try out the game.
Right now, it just doesn't have that. The cheapest product in the line right now is $40, containing just 4 miniatures. Exactly one character short of being able to play in a tournament. It's honestly kind of pathetic.
So that's Dungeons & Dragons Onslaught. I think it's a perfectly fine game, but unless something is done about the accessibility problem, I don't really see much of a future for it. Sorry, wizkids, thanks for sending me the box, and I hope we have better luck in the future. Although, now that I think about it, I only need 2 of the mimics out of this case. Maybe I should run a tournament, huh? Anyway, until next time, this is Kohdok signing off. Hey, it's me again. You like my new duds? You wanna know where I got them? This jersey comes courtesy of today's sponsor, FanCustom.com.
FanCustom.com is a website dedicated to making custom sports jerseys. No cheap screen tone patterning here. These jerseys are made from real jersey material with stitched on patches featuring special lettering and even custom cut designs if you want. Get them for the office ball club, your local Little League team, just for fun, or my personal favorite idea, get a matching set for the family vacation.
Basic t-shirts can be as low as $20, jerseys start at $40, and if you use my special link and enter coupon code KOHDOK at checkout, you can save 10% off your order. Thanks again, Fan Customs, for supporting the channel. Also, a big thanks to everybody who supports me over on Patreon, specifically Gem Blenders, Diamond Dread, Vaughn, Danny the Eevee User, and Cleeklo, who support me at the $10 at higher level, and you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 per month, including Discord access and more. Thank you very much, please be sure to like and subscribe the video, and until next time, this is Kohdok signing off.